Everyone, old school Pokemon here, back again with the PokeFlipz podcast, joined by my usual co-host, Catch 'em All Collectibles, Dan. How are we doing tonight, Dan?
Doing very well tonight. How about yourself?
Doing well. I'm doing well. Been a very eventful day. A lot of me on lives today, but it's been a good day. Been a good day.
Yeah, there's probably
Got
some
to
people in here that are gonna be getting like hours, what, 6 through 8 of hearing your soothing voice today. Gonna be able to fall asleep in the evening hours.
Yes, yes. You guys got plenty of OSP today. Don't want to hear any complaints about me not being live as much.
It's funny too. I we talked about it a little bit last night, but using like when you have a YouTube channel, using eBay Live to go live and not sell anything. I was actually gonna ask you, but I figured I might as well just do it live. Did you have anything in the buy it now? Were you like pumping, hey, I've got pre-sale boxes in the buy it now, or did you make any sales during it?
Nope, I did not bring one item over to the live. It was just me hanging out with the chat, ripping packs.
Because you could have done that, right? Like you could have technically put up pre-order cases or pre-order boxes, and you couldn't have been shipping them until tomorrow or whatever, but or maybe Friday.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not entirely sure. I know I talked to my rep before, and they said coming down from Pokemon lives, they at least told me if I'm selling product opening live, they didn't want me to do it till release day. Where I know some people do it a couple days before, they justify it by like, hey, it won't deliver to them until release day. I feel like I've heard a lot of mixed things, and I'm not 100% sure on how all that falls.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know exactly what's allowed, what's not allowed. There's a lot of like there's a lot of like loopholes kind of. Some people sell it because like they're stores, other people sell it just because they can. But I don't know, I never sell stuff until the actual release date, just to play things safe. It's not worthwhile for me
Yeah,
to take any type of risk losing a distributor. The amount of sales that you would get during pre-release, I'm fine with not having them. So I just wait until Friday.
I've always taken the same strategy. Z&G Emporium says, "Wait, is this eBay live?" No, Nick is actually live on a different platform.
I feel gross being on here.
As always, we're gonna be live with you guys for the next at least couple hours. We'll see where the night takes us and how lively chat is. But feel free to leave your questions. We're hanging out. I'll say at least 2 hours, probably capped at 3 hours tops, pending how things go.
Yeah.
I see a couple questions starting to go in. Any other topics you want to cover? I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming weekend. I've got Houston Collecticon. Nick has got Paradox Rift release. I actually had my product the earliest I've ever had a product land. It landed a full week before the release date, and I've done nothing with it. I threw it on the shelves, and I don't have time to do anything with it. I might bring a little bit. I might squeeze in some packs or something in my luggage, pending how things are looking once I get packed tomorrow. But yeah, I have so much stuff to do between now and take off Friday morning.
Gonna be a busy day tomorrow for you. One quick thing, since I did just do I opened 20 boxes of Paradox Rift today, this afternoon, and a few things I noticed, which I was really, really happy about. First off, the print quality. I don't know if I just got lucky with the stuff that I've opened so far, but print quality is a lot better than anything we've seen in Scarlet and Violet so far. So that's really good. I'm very happy about that. I think there's going to be a lot of gradable cards, which is good. And then the second thing is the rarities have gotten a little bit tougher to pull. I've averaged so far, like I said, I've only opened 20 boxes, so not that many, but I've averaged one SIR every 2 boxes. So I opened 20 boxes, I have exactly 10 SIRs. And then I've averaged a roughly one secret rare every 2 boxes as well. I've opened 20 boxes and I have 12 secret rares. So I think the rarities are starting to improve. Scarlet and Violet, like base, Obsidian, and Paldea Evolved, it was one SIR and one secret rare per box. So now it's one every other box, roughly. So I think they're moving in the right direction. I'm excited to see what happens next year moving forward. Paradox Rift is like our Vivid Voltage of the Sword and Shield era. So the next set will be like our battle styles where they introduced alt art. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the next main set, not the specialty set that comes out in February.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see. Makes you wonder if like what is going on exactly mechanically at Pokemon. I mean, all these talks of like dull blades, this and I don't know what's actually valid and what's not because it's always like different rarities are affected differently, and it's just strange. You'd think 9.7 billion cards, 25 plus years of doing it. You think they'd have it more ironed out, but I always say we aren't voting with our wallets against it, so we're just telling them that what's happening is fine, and that's with Pokemon, that's with grading card companies, that's with all of it. We don't stop buying.
Exactly.
Um, let's see. So nice to see everyone in chat. I feel like we do have a couple questions rolling in already. Ponga says, Dan got the fresh cut to hang out with me this weekend. I specifically told my wife, I'm like, because I buzz it myself and then she just cleans it up. I'm like, I've got to look real good this weekend. I want to impress Ponga. We've already had our first impression, but second impressions matter too. So looking my best for Ponga.
There we go. I like it.
We got Cheval's in here saying Rangers on fire. Dan representing 5-0 on a road trip. You gotta love that. So here we go. We got the Mexican hipster. We knew this one was coming. Can we debate this pre-release Raichu? We need Dan hopping off his fence and turning on his red lights. If you want to take this one first, I'll be interested to hear your thoughts.
So two things immediately came to mind for me. The first was David Pearson, who has the pre-release Raichus, actually grading a card. Very surprising. Because for those of you who don't know him, he is a binder collector through and through. Really doesn't have many graded cards. So him actually grading a card, very surprising. That was my first thought that came to mind. And then secondly, we always knew he supposedly had one real pre-release Raichu. But to have two, I did not know that. I don't think many people knew that either. So to have two come up at the same time, that was really cool. And then in terms of the whole CDC grading it, um, I'm actually really happy CDC took the initiative, took the plunge, and actually graded that card, or those cards. I haven't read the CDC article just yet. I skimmed through a little bit of it earlier, and from what I was briefly read, it seems like they did a lot of research into the card. It seems like they took every step possible before actually authenticating and grading it. Obviously, the grading doesn't matter as much. It's all about the authentication. And so I'm really happy CDC took that plunge. I think it's going to further legitimize CDC even more so, and kind of show people that CDC is willing to work with collectors and grade things that PSA has never touched before and would never touch. If CDC wasn't around, PSA would still be refusing to grade all these error type cards, the no damage Ninetales, the Ghost Stamp Pikachu's. Once CGC came along and started grading all these cards, that's when PSA started grading these cards again. So I think it's really good that CGC took the initiative and actually authenticated that card. And I do think they did their due diligence, and I do believe that it is a real, quote unquote, real copy. Now, whether or not it was a mistake from the factory or purposely created by people who were working at the factory, that's still up for debate. I personally think that it was purposefully created by someone working at the factory as a kind of a memento or something cool to show off or whatever. But yeah, I'm really happy CDC did grade it, and I know there's still going to be people saying that this card is fake. CDC did a terrible job. Why would they authenticate it? And I'm starting to think that's more and more so people just being against the pre-release Raichu, whether or not they missed out an opportunity on actually buying that copy themselves, or they missed out on PSA grading it and authenticating it, whatever. There's so much controversy around this card. I personally think it's real. I don't know why, like, I don't know why people's stories have changed over the years. Like, I was on E4, and like a lot of the people way back in the day, when Scott originally looked at the pre-release Raichu, he posted something on E4 and he thought it was real. And now fast forward to today, he's like super adamant that it's fake. So what has changed exactly that he's so adamant that it's fake? I don't understand that whole thing. And I personally think CGC did a really good job from what I've seen so far. Did a really good job, like researching it, doing the proper due diligence, and all of that stuff to confirm the authenticity. And so I believe what they did. They're a professional authentication company. They went to put their whole brand behind this card. This is like the most high profile card in the history of Pokemon. They went to put it all on the line if they had any type of doubt around this card. Obviously, CGC's made mistakes before grading those cut up cards as quote unquote error cards. I think that's like a different circumstance. This card is so much more high profile than those types of cards. So I don't think they would have authenticated them if there was any type of doubt left over. So I'm happy CGC graded them. It's really cool to finally have those cards in the light. So I'm really happy about that. But what do you think on those?
Yeah, I think you hit the crux of the issue about halfway through, which is right where I was gonna go. You said quote unquote real at one point. I think a lot of times, and this goes well outside Pokemon, a lot of the most like divisive topics in society can often come down to two sides that feel completely opposed on their opinion of whether or not something's real, whether or not, I'm not going to get into naming all the hot divisive topics of today, but oftentimes it comes down to whether you'd call it semantics or just definitions. How do you define real is the crux of this issue. Because I think what CGC in authenticating did is that they said, hey, this is authentic raw material produced on authentic equipment, and then all of the all the provenance that they had come with it, all the early E4 Pokegym Pojo articles and such, and then the chain of custody, tracing it back, who's owned it. I think that establishes the timeline, that establishes the fact that it was created in around that realm. Because if there wasn't all that conversation, if there wasn't all that, if some random former WotC employee came out today with a pre-release Charizard, something that didn't have decades of all that mythos, didn't have all the documentation, didn't have the photo from Scott 10 years ago or whenever that was that he had it in his hand, the ability to tie it to a certain time frame, relating to around when it would have come out, like would have been gone. So that would have made it tougher. So yeah, I think what CGC is doing in authenticating it, real equipment, the time frame is right. We have some people who say a story that aligns with all this. And I think what certain people, and I think there are valid criticisms in the camp of this card is air quotes fake. Because again, real fake, we need to define those. People are arguing on opposite sides with different definitions of what's real and fake. So some of the people are just raising a concern, hey, the people, and I mean, Dave Person included, he has a financial incentive for these to be authenticated, for these to be real. But yeah, in my opinion, I think they're real in that they were produced at the right time frame. They were owned by Mike Boozer. They were owned by Dave Person. They were all these different things. How many there are, and CGC even touched on that in their article because I did read it. No one really knows. Was it saved from the shredder? Was it some employee screwing around? We don't really know. Similar things with like the Protos toys, which CGC also authenticated. But to me, and honestly, having read their article, I wish they stayed out a little bit more of the story, though I know the provenance of the story is kind of required in this instance. I wish they were more just like matter of fact, this is the proper equipment, the proper raw material at the proper time. And less about like he said, she said, because they're like, and that's another thing with humanity, with society. You can have 20 people witness an event yesterday, and you'll get 20 different stories of what happened and what didn't happen. And anyone can think about recent modern day events. And I mean, you may have even experienced in your life having been at some event, having been at some newsworthy, noteworthy thing that you then later on read the news reports of. They don't always jive with what you experienced, with what someone else that was there with you experienced. And being fairly vague there, but I think people can understand what I'm saying. So the fact that like some amount of people are saying this story happened, some amount of people are saying that story happened, 25 years later, that's not that surprising. Human memory. I mean, read all the studies about like eyewitness testimony. Read all the studies about how bad human memory really can be, especially when there's like these different incentives and this and that. So I understand the complaints to a large extent from the fake crowd. If we need to do the whole black and white thing, the whole binary, you're with it or you're against it, I would lean more towards with it. But I do exist in that shade of gray where most of real life, where most of the real world like exists in the nuance. And I think this card has a lot of nuance about it, but I think it's all about the raw materials, the time, the equipment, and it opens up a whole interesting conversation though. And I think it's a spectrum, as it always is. I think the most real card that can exist. Go on Nick's eBay Live. Buy a pack of Paradox Rift from him on Friday. That is the most real a card can get. The most real card, in my opinion, is a set card that is mass produced for mass release. Everyone and anyone can access it. Pretty much everyone has a base set card, an evolutions card. Those are the most real cards. 100% irrefutable, indisputable. And then when you get into the match print cards, you get into the pre-release Raichu, you get into the various sample cards, the recent Galaxy sheet cut, not factory cut, but cut up sheets with square corners. It's a spectrum. I personally think that the market would value this pre-release Raichu significantly higher than I do. So that's where I stand on it. The Protos toys selling for 6 figures. I mean, to me, it falls fairly low on like the real spectrum, significantly lower than real set cards. But I would still say it's real. It's just really not something I'm interested in as much as rich people are or other people in the market are. Like I am not a buyer for the pre-release Raichu. Would I pay $5,000? Probably. If that thing auctioned, would it go for significantly higher than $5,000? I'm almost guaranteed.
100%.
Yes, I mean,
I could 100% guarantee it would sell for more than $5,000.
And the reason, because you'd probably bid $6,000, right, or whatever you'd bid. Like I would bid $5,000.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting conversation. One thing that's like universal though that I need to throw in there. So many people care way too much about it. Like so many people get so worked up. And I get that we're all just entertaining ourselves. We're all just having these conversations. Some people genuinely like if it annoys you, whatever, that's valid, that's fine. And maybe I'm just getting the wrong perception based on reading Discord messages and forum posts and YouTube comments, whatever it may be. But some people just feel so personally attacked by the existence of this card. And that's just weird to me. That's just really weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
Nice.
there is a lot of passion on either side, saying it's real, saying it's fake. CGC should have graded it. CGC shouldn't have graded it. And at the end of the day, the passion, it makes sense because obviously it's like the most high profile card in the entire hobby. I think more people have heard of pre-release Raichu than an Illustrator. So it does make sense. But at the end of the day, it's really just between the David, CGC, and anyone who would actually buy it if he decides to sell it. Everyone else's opinion really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But it is the latest and greatest hot topic within Pokemon. So it makes sense that so many people are talking about it and passionate behind it because we're all in the hobby and we're all passionate about Pokemon overall. But there are definitely certain people who are like way too passionate, even though they're never going to have any type of interaction about with the card.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm never gonna buy it. I'm never gonna own it. And I'm assuming most, I mean, there's only 2 authenticated right now. There's 11, there's 30, there's however many there are. I don't know. But the Illustrator has a history of some amount of that going on. One dangerous thing and one bit of pushback I would give for the fake crowd. Some people talk about how easily replicable it is, given that it's a mass-produced Raichu from base set, which anyone, you can go on eBay, TCG Player, wherever you want to go, you can source 100 of those cards instantly for $20 a pop, probably, or less. If it's that easy to replicate, it would be very likely, I think, that someone would start doing that en masse. And let's just see. I know people have no patience whatsoever. Let's check the pop report in a year or 2 years. Let's see if CGC's graded 50 of them. Because if it's that easy to replicate, and if it's that, like, you think someone would do it, I mean, the monetary incentive's there, because that is one thing that my mind goes to, real or fake. A lot of people, myself included, would likely deem a lot of the Gold Star beasts from Unseen Forces, those are fake in a lot of ways, or not necessarily fake, but not necessarily real. They're the right equipment, they're the right time frame, right raw material. Wrong release though. Those are set cards that were supposed to be in packs. Those walked out of the back of the factory, and so those go very far down on the real fake scale towards fake, but they are impossible to tell. They're impossible to tell from the real one. So if the pre-release Clefable is like so easily replicated, I think the market and the owners of the cards and CGC will have a massive problem on their hands. I would speculate that they likely won't run into that because I don't think they're as easily replicated as people think. That said, stamps are, I know a decent bit about the process behind hot foil stamping the cards and how that's done, and a little bit about like where and some of the details behind that, but I just don't see tons of pre-release Raichus coming out that end up being an issue towards the card. But I could be completely wrong. I'm open to being wrong on that too. Maybe someone's already got it in the works. I don't know.
Yeah, that is another thing. Like Gary, King Pokemon, he had those E4 stamped Pikachu's instead of the E3 stamped, and seeing those cards in person, the gold stamp did look very good. Now, whether or not you could tell a difference under like a magnifying glass or whatever CGC did to verify it, the Raichu, I don't know, but like like looking at it with your eyes, it did look very good. So yeah, the stamping process is out there, and doable, but how well it is under like magnification and all that stuff, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I really do like because I read the article. I really do like that they show so much about the process with which they authenticate, and maybe someone can use that against them. Maybe it is easy to replicate, and maybe someone like that equipment of the nature that they show in their article. It is fancy, scientific, like high tech equipment, but it's not extremely uncommon. Like there's probably a lot of people listening to this that work at companies that have similar equipment and have similar abilities. The company that I used to work at had
Mhm.
XRFs and had high intensity magnification and all these different processes. So it'll be interesting. It'll be
Mhm.
interesting to follow. But there is our quick hot takes. I guess not super quick. We went on pretty good there, but interesting news in the hobby. There's always something going on, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Reggie Card says, Dan, can you please shame Nick for the Houston debacle? I actually was talking to him recently. This is going to be the first Pokemon event I've been at without Nick. I guess I did two early on. So early on, I went to Nashville Worlds in 2018. And then I believe you didn't go to the Hartford Collectors event, right?
I did
Talking
not know.
talking about stamped cards of disputed origin, that one birthed the collector Charizard. That's a whole different conversation there that I think we've already had a couple times. But I do have three collector stamped Charizards. One for my wife, one for myself, one for my son. But anyways, yeah, this will be the first event since those ones, like years ago. A first Pokemon event. We went to Pokemon Saves the World together. You've gone to some Collecticons without me, but I've never been without you at a Collecticon. So I was that was a sad realization that I'm gonna be Nicholasless for the first time at a Collecticon.
That was a sad message when you mentioned that to me. I hadn't thought about that, but it is true, and that was very sad. That was very sad. But yeah, it's just too much going on with this paradox thing. I gotta stay home and stream that. I can't be missing a new set release the first year on eBay Live.
You
And then with the and then I decided to do a Team Rocket break Saturday. Um, so that one I don't want to miss. Definitely don't want to miss that.
Yeah. You did a good job though in hindsight. You did a good job at Charlotte Collecticon of like prepping me for the abandonment because you didn't join the Power L. You went all the way over with your buddy Chum Lee and you left us. You left us
Oh,
high
this
and
is true.
dry.
This is true.
So it was like a good way to ease me into it, right? I mean, my first couple conventions, I was within your section, and then I got my own section,
Yep.
and then you went to the other side of the convention center, and then you just left me all together. So you did transition me nicely into my first Nicholas-less Collecticon.
It was all part of the plan. All part of the plan there.
I figured it was, and I only recently realized.
Eh,
Um, that's
Uh,
fun.
Mr. Kite says I'm guaranteed at least 40 of his collection dollars for making that choice of skipping. You don't have any guaranteed sales for CollectCon.
uh,
Oh man.
Chef says everyone who's opened so far has commented on print quality, so that's a plus. And Java Crush is opening too. So it sounds like Paradox Rift is. I'll probably open a little bit tomorrow before I end up.
Wait.
I'll probably just rip like an ETB with my kids and what and wife before we end up leaving. I'm leaving very early Friday morning, but yeah, before the kids' bedtime, sometime tomorrow night, I'll have to rip at least a few packs.
There we go. There we go. Are you gonna bring boxes or packs down to CollectCon?
I might bring a very limited amount. I need to pack up my luggage. My wife is coming, so I think we're gonna fit all of our clothes and everything in one carry-on, and then we're gonna have her personal item. My personal item's going to be the I always try to say Pelican case, but the help
Zion?
Zion case, yeah, the Zion case, and then I'll have a whole carry-on. I've never had that much space for Pokemon product, I don't think, because when we went to Florida, we went for extra time. We went to Disney. We had like more stuff to pack. This one's a little bit quicker. We're only there Friday and Saturday night, so we had a little bit lighter packing, and I'm gonna be able to fit more inventory. So yeah, I'll probably bring some 151 as well. I would think 151 packs would still do pretty well, even with Paradox Rift dropping. 151 seems pretty hype.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, 151 will still do really well. I do think Paradox would do well though too. There, I would definitely bring some of that along
Yeah, I'll definitely
if
bring a
you have
little bit.
room.
I'll find some room. I'll find some room for at least something. But Pokin Fun says, Dan, I got nervous. I auctioned and sold my pristine 10 Van Gogh, sold for $513. One before me sold for 1150. Cheapest one up now is 800 plus with bids. That's how that's the way of the
Damn.
auction. Yeah, that's rough. Uh Generally speaking, I go I go the route of like pricing a buy it now with best offer at or slightly, depending on how it feels, depending on how many are listed, at slightly above, slightly below recent sold with best offers open. And I try to move them quick through buy it now. Because auctions, I mean, you could do 1 day, 3 day, 5 day auctions instead of a 7 day. But yeah, auctions just, I feel like, run the risk of so many more buy it nows popping up, so many more auctions popping up.
Yeah, the pricing on those cards is wild. We've had such big swings on those cards. Like when they first came out, they were like $100 on eBay, and then when they released it so that if you bought $30 in TCG, you would get one of the cards. Pricing dropped to like 60-ish, 60-ish, 50, 60-ish, somewhere in that range. And then very, very quickly it went right back up to 100. Now they're like 120, 130. So pricing is just all over the place on those cards. PSA 10s have kind of steadied off for right now at 600-ish, 550, 600-ish. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the pricing on those cards. And if we do get any more of them, hopefully we do.
It seems like we will. I think they were supposed to actually release today, and they ended up just like not releasing today. I think it was just like a 503 error. I think they sent out some apology. But yeah, I did recently just get back. A 2 card submission was all I had out of the first wave. I got a 9 and a 10, and then I have 3 sealed ones that actually look pretty gradable. I probably should send them out tomorrow before I go, but I'm not sure that I'll get to it. So Cheval says, if someone imaginary, let's call him Cheval's backwards, has been in the hobby since the boom and is still far from being poke rich, should that fictional person quit the hobby? One thing I constantly say, we're all in the same arena, but we are playing very different games. I think there's a lot of people that were here in 2020, 2021, like to today. What were your goals? If you were here through all this and your sole goals were to make money, extract money, and you didn't, yeah, you're not doing too hot, because it's been fairly easy relative to like the whole time I've been in the hobby, the 9 years I've been in the hobby. It's been significantly easier. Some of it's due to having more capital, more experience, all that. But even all else equal, I think it's a lot easier to find ways to make plays in today's market. So reconsider. I wouldn't say you need to quit the hobby, but reconsider what you're doing and what your goals are.
I'm not going to be a fence sitter like Dan. Chevals, get out of here. We don't need you broke boys in Pokemon.
There you go. There you go. Hey, people want us off the fence, so Nick's hopping right off. There you go. Dustin Perot says, if someone's doing
Uh,
WotC binder sets, should they go for first edition or unlimited? Again, what are your goals? Which ones do you prefer more? If your sole goal is capital appreciation, I mean, I'd be guessing but a lot of it comes down to what price you get into them on. And I went the route of first edition. I did base unlimited because it was from my childhood. I have Jungle and Fossil Unlimited too from my childhood, but I opted towards PSA 9 first edition only where applicable. So that's very much like a you decision. What do you think?
Yeah. Um, if you're just going after it to collect, because you want the cards, then I would say unlimited. If you're going after it because you want to collect the cards, but you also want to kind of use it as like quote unquote investments, then I would go for the higher rarity, the first edition. So that would be my thing. If you want to build it as cheap as possible, just to have a cool collection, go for unlimited. But then if you want to spend more, it's going to cost you a lot more money. But it's gonna do better long term. If Pokemon continues to do well long term, first edition is going to do better than unlimited.
And actually, Chris Gates in the comments, he said that they were not releasing cards today, only the Van Gogh merch, which I wasn't aware of. I kind of presumed they were going to come with the cards, but I guess it was just for the
So
merch
you
potentially.
misled me there.
I saw people talking about it. I was actually fairly busy today, so I wasn't in Discord as much as usual. But I definitely saw a little bit of commentary about it, and I didn't realize it was potentially only the merch. But here we go. We got James. We already touched on the pre-release Raichu. We got James in here. I actually asked him for more spicy questions, but here's a spicy one. Is PSA grading harder lately, or are there just a bunch of whiners out there? What are your thoughts?
Um, I haven't gotten a PSA return. Wait to let me answer the question first this time.
Sorry. I didn't realize you were... I was looking at the comments, not watching you munch on that muffin.
I haven't gotten a PSA return in a long time. And it's been a long time. I've been doing CGC almost exclusively. But I don't think they're grading harder. Like I do think there was a jump in like the 6 third era, but now that we're in like the 9 third era, I think it's on par with what it's been for the past couple of years. That's what I would say for that one. I do think it's a case of people do love complaining, and all of their cards are PSA 10s. It's PSA who makes a mistake, not them. Which is true sometimes, but I think the vast majority of time PSA does get it right, and they are good. Obviously, we always hear about the misgrades and all of that stuff. Nobody ever comments on, oh, PSA did a great job grading my card. We never hear those stories. It's the same as the eBay horror stories. We always hear about the negative aspects of eBay. You never hear about the positives. So it just seems like they're grading more harshly because of that's what we hear. But I do think they're grading the same as how they've been grading the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's whiners. It's whiners, and it's people who... So many I rant about this. I have a decent video coming out Monday, I think. I rant about how people like mystify the grading process. I think some people get so frustrated over such small sample sizes, not realizing how consistently inconsistent, not really realizing how much variance there is in the process. Like you can absolutely get a bad day, get a bad grader, whatever it may be. You can get kind of wrecked small scale. But overall, they're doing what they've always done. There are definitely cards out there that are just disgustingly easy to grade. 90+% PSA 10 rates without even pre-grading. I mean, I sent my best cards to Beckett. I send my second best cards to CGC. I send my worst cards to PSA, and I get 90% 10 rates on participation trophy-esque cards. And I know that not every card is that, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, PSA is the easiest grader. They are the professor in college that the day of class registration, everyone, like Pretend you're chasing the Van Gogh Pikachu. Pretend you're trying to like snipe the in the mid late 2000s, trying to get into that psychology professor's class because he was the easy A, and the other one was a more like actual tough grader, harsh grader, and I didn't want to have to try to give black label effort when all I wanted was my easy 10. So yeah, that's what PSA is. They're the easy grader.
That's a good analogy there. I like it.
And the standard disclaimer, yes, there are absolutely PSA 9 cards that would get CGC 10. There are also absolutely PSA 10 cards getting cracked out that would get PSA 8s and vice versa. It's all just like the more you hone in on any aspect of what we do in this hobby, the more it's just like what is even going on. Don't think so hard because it hurts to think so hard. Uh So OJ Knoll says, question, I have base set 2 Blastoise and Venusaur from a collection buy. I have accumulated my cash back from the collection already. Is it worth it to grade or just sell raw, roughly PSA 5 or PSA 6? I mean, look at the pricing. It's just math. Like, do the math. What can you sell it for raw? How quickly can... Part of it, too, is, like, how quickly you can get the capital back. Because it's going to take you a few months to get it graded. It's going to cost you $15 for grading fees. It's going to cost you all that additional time, all that additional uncertainty. Maybe they'll grade even lower than you think. There is, to be fair, like they could grade a little bit higher than you think too. But yeah, it's just like it's just math. Do the math.
Yeah, Blastoise and Venusaur. I would probably say hold off, but do look at what they sell for. But just off the top of my head, I would say hold off on those. Just sell them raw. But if it was a Charizard, on the other hand, I did just recently get a bunch of low grade Charizards, like 2, 3, 4. I had a 5 in there. And those are like surprisingly, they sell for a good bit more than a raw copy would. But Blastoise and Venusaur, I don't think are the same way.
Um, so I'm still back at the point where people are talking about our commentary on the pre-release Raichu, so we're almost getting out of that. Oh, some funny comments in here. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Found out that you're eating a chocolate chip muffin.
That you were trying to kill me with.
So Thrifty said, slight to overwhelming FOMO kicking in got me looking at last minute flights. So absolutely, Thrifty. FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. Come on. We got to see you there. Chris Gates said his first booster box print quality was the worst in Sun and Moon. It was terrible. So yeah, there absolutely could be like a small sample size situation. Nick has all cases from one distributor, so I think it will still remain to be seen. But I feel like generally I've heard positives towards the print quality. Feel free to leave more questions in chat. I see a ton of comments, but here we go. Here's another one, finally. G1T Landon says, question, thoughts on PSA bulk staying $15 for at least another year? I am 2 months away exactly today from winning my bet against ZNG Emporium, James. A lot of people were very confident. I think overconfidence is rampant in this hobby, in this industry, and I think a lot of people were overconfident with the fact that PSA was definitely going to be $10 open to the public, sub $10 open to the public. And I probably said this back then, like there was a chance, but the market would have had to done terribly. It's crazy thing is the market's done fairly bad on like a lot of like mid low end slabs. And in spite of that, the demand for slabs is still that of which pricing is 15 and turnaround times are 3 months. So as of today, given that our current turnaround time already takes us in to the first, like the end of the first month of 2024, just today, I feel fairly confident, not that it'll stay at 15, but if James or anyone wanted to take a bet, will we have sub 10 by January 1st, 2025? I would take the bet that we wouldn't. I'm not about to say we're not going to get under 15. I feel like we'll get specials at least under 15 at one point. But the difference between 12 and 13 and like 9 and 10 is massive. It is unbelievably massive. Like you see CGC, I actually just recently saw before we went live here, I saw in Discord that I think TCG and non-sports specifically, PSA graded like 550K last month, and CGC graded like half that, 260, 270K. So CGC is grading half the quantity of like not everything, but Pokemon at least, but Pokemon and similar things. And that's a huge effect because they're doing it at 9 or 8, 6, whatever it is. So yeah, I am quite confident that we won't get sub 10 by January 1st, 2025. Where are you at on all that?
I was always super bullish on James, partially just because I wanted to see you lose for once. But but now I do think you're right. I don't think we're gonna get any type of special or a price decrease. I think it's gonna remain 15 definitely through this year, 100%. Um even going into next year, I can't see them doing any type of drastic changes. Um I the entire year next year. That's a long time. But definitely the first couple months next year. So like the next 6 months, I can't see them doing any type of changes. They're still grading a ton of cards every month. People are still sending them a ton of cards. So there's really no need for them to do that change right now.
Yeah, I would expect that we might see 12 to 13 as a special, maybe mid next year towards late next. Like so much of it can drastically change. There's going to be at least like a 3 month lag in there just based on the current backlog they hold. But I think the one of the biggest things, I mean, that initial race to the bottom, like if you look at Nagabas, I actually was just for my video Monday, I was looking at some pops and stuff like that, PSA, CGC, BGS. Umbreon, Nagaba is already like pop 10,000 at PSA. That card just came out a few months ago. So like all this early money, speculative money going in to get that premium out of the gate. I mean, there's a lot of cards being graded. All the Nagabas, I mean, all the Nagabas at PSA that are not Umbreon are pretty rough right now compared to if you had just sold it raw. So yeah, if the next 6 months, a lot of people keep getting banged up on stuff like the Nagabas, but when you look at Nagabas, the whole context, like there was a lot of people feasting for the first month or so of it too, and still done correctly, sold at a convention, sold through a promoted listing, whatever it may be. There's still margin there. Like there's still margin there on some of them. Not attractive margin. I'm not sending any more Nagabas to PSA, but yeah, it's just wild, and a lot of that stuff is buoyed by the streaming, eBay lives, the whatnots, the drips, the mystery bags, mystery boxes. So a lot of that's really fueled by the fact that there's still just so much demand out there for plastic wholesale.
Yeah, exactly. And until those margins drop off, um, there's obviously there's incentive for PSA to lower pricing because there are still a lot of cards that you can't grade at 15 that people do want graded for their sets or to sell or whatever. But there's just so many cards that are still worthwhile to grade at 15. That right now I just don't think it makes sense. I don't think it makes sense for them to to lower pricing when they're grading, it seems like they're at capacity. Because they haven't really increased over 1,000,000. It'll go like just over 1,000,000, just under 1,000,000, just over 1,000,000, just under 1,000,000. They haven't been increasing at all. Whereas before it was like 700,000, 800,000, 900,000, 1,000,000. They were like increasing by 100,000 every month, and now it's just kind of flatlined at 1,000,000. So they're obviously at a comfortable position right now, and I think until we see those numbers drop down, meaning people are sending less cards to them, what's the incentive for them to lower pricing?
Blind demand. We we highly demanded at 15. They can barely keep up. I mean, the turnaround times for a stretch there were getting down a little bit, right? And they're crazy. I mean, they just recently they raised the price on a few cards, right? Like anything non-TCG, no hit points, no attacks. Now it's 19 instead of 15. I think it's always been that, but now they're enforcing it better. Because I actually had some non-Lorcana Disney cards. I had bumped up a couple months ago on behalf of a consigner. They were like serialized Disney cards from Upper Deck from a few years ago. And yeah, they emailed me. They're like, "Hey, these don't qualify for the 15, so we're going 19 with them."
Mhm.
Chavals wants to know, did James eventually explain what ZNG stands for? I don't believe he ever has. Everyone's got to go ask him. I don't think he's gonna spill though.
He hasn't, and he said in a video a long time ago he would do a video on why it's Z&G, and I've been dying to know, and he's never once mentioned it.
DB Royalty says, "What was that crap drop that the Van Gogh Museum did today? Did anyone get any merch?" I don't think I saw anyone talking about getting any. It sounds like it may not have even happened because they were having, I think they were having errors getting inundated overnight.
It's because nobody cares about the merch. Once they heard there's no Van Gogh promo. No, honestly though, the merch is really cool. I really like the I was hoping to get one of the pin collection boxes. I think that looks good. The sleeves look really good. Even like whatever you have in the background there. The poster looking things. Those looked really good. Um there is a lot of good merch, but it's definitely all about the Van Gogh Pika promo.
Tom B says, not a question, but just a general thought. I generally don't think it's smart to send any vintage to PSA, regardless how minty you think the card may be. A PSA 8 is not worth it. I mean, there are still vintage PSA 10s being graded every day. They're absolutely being graded at like significantly lower rates than modern or Japanese or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely still happening. So if you've got a card that people are just not reasonable in their pre-grading often. Like when I send ultra modern Japanese promo that grades 80-90%, my baseline expectation is 10, and I hit it 90+% of the time. When I send a WotC card, EX era card, a Diamond and Pearl era card, my expectation is a 9 if it looks super clean. Because like even super clean for WotC, like just be objective. Don't look at it in the context of WotC. Don't say that this is mint for WotC. Be objective. Like WotC's best are not as good as how Nagaba's come out. You're not gonna black label WotC stuff. You're rarely gonna 10 WotC stuff. You just gotta know that going in. Look at actually look at the card. Don't say this is clean relative to other WotC. You need to objectively look at it on the scale. Most of the cards do not qualify for 10s. So PSA doesn't grade in 10s. Like that's just the reality, and people are whiners. So yeah, we covered that already.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
I agree with you on that one. I do think like we said, I think a while back it got tougher for sure. But it's not impossible. It's still possible. I do think it's a little stricter. But I wouldn't necessarily say completely stop sending WotC or EX to PSA. Just kind of be more aware that it's going to be a lot tougher. And kind of use that information to your advantage to figure out which company to send it to.
Mm. Yeah, if you're a collector that just wants the card encapsulated, like go with which slab you like best. Go support which company you like best. If you're a business trying to make margin, like follow the math, follow what the market is telling you to do. And I think the market's speaking fairly loud and clear on certain things.
Yep.
Chef wants to know, what's your favorite travel snack? You got any
Travel snack,
you got
huh?
anything jumping out at you?
Hmm. Um, I always like to pick up one of those like the Cajun trail mix with like the peanuts and the spicy like the spicy one. I forget what it's got in it. It's really good though.
I
I always pick one of those up at the airport. Or I go with um just like a bag of barbecue chips, like the Lay's barbecue chips. One of the two. That's usually what I get for the plane.
I usually bring, we have kids, so like we've always got a bunch of snacks handy. I feel like I go with peanut butter crackers quite a bit, or I go with like granola bars, just something easy like that. Uh, I usually try to bring my Collecticon bag with a handful of those because there's definitely some absences until whoever the whoever the MVP is who decides to pull up the DoorDash app or who decides to go pick up food for the section. Shout out to Thrifty in Charlotte.
Thrifty's just gonna have to come again to Houston. Who else is gonna get you food?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. I'm gonna hold out and see if Ray's gonna buy for the section because I bought for my section in Charlotte, and Thrifty went and picked it up. But we'll have to see. Maybe Ray will end up treating the section.
Ray buying you food. That is not gonna happen.
Uh,
If he does, he's gonna spit in it before he hands it to you.
yeah. I see we're having a bit of a takeover in the chat. We got a bunch of eBay Live. We got a lot of new names in here. Seem to be all Nick's eBay Live crew.
Yeah, I don't see Mr. Dan bringing any new names into the chat. It's all the same old people.
Hey man, come on! I got the YouTube going. There's got to be some amount of people. Maybe they're just all lurking. Maybe the people I'm bringing are just all lurking.
Yeah, a bunch of nerds you bring in.
You see,
I bring in the excitement.
one thing I see though, I see a lot of new names in the chat, and I see that we're stuck at 1,495 subs. We're only 5 subs away from a pretty big milestone, and I feel like I see at least 5 new names in the chat. So I don't know. Do these eBay Live supporters support you enough to hit the like and hit the sub button? We'll see.
This is true. This is true.
Um,
uh,
so Chef wants to know if we're ever gonna learn the TCG. I've mentioned it before, but my son actually wants to learn. We currently play like war style. We shuffle up 20 cards each and we just slap them down, and the biggest attack, whichever one has the biggest attack wins. So we play it like war until somebody runs out of cards. He actually wants to learn though that this winter, which is fast approaching, his soccer season just ended. So sometime soon, I'm gonna start sitting down with him with a battle academy, and we're gonna start learning. What about you? You learning
yeah, I
anytime
would
soon?
like to learn I would like to learn at some point. I've been saying that for years. Um, at some point it'll happen. When that'll be, I have no idea. I have no idea. Not this year, I can tell you that. Maybe around the same time as I get back to YouTube.
Or never.
But no, at some point I really would like to learn. But I think it'll help out. It would help out my business. Just knowing, having a better idea on which cards are playable, which trainers are good, all that stuff. Um, I think it would actually be useful to actually know how to play the game. It does seem fun. And going to Worlds, that was a long time ago. Back in 2019. That really made me want to learn how to play. Obviously, I never did, but just seeing everyone there playing really made me want to learn how to play. And it never happened, but it will. It will one day.
Yeah, one part of me that like kept me from learning it is I worried that I was gonna get like sucked into it and end up just spending a lot of time on it and time that I like, don't really have to be allocating towards it. But if it can be like a bonding thing with my kids, like that makes it a lot easier to justify. And I see Ponga in the chat saying Dan gonna use his son to win him a trophy, shaking my head. That would actually be awesome. If he ever were to win one. I feel like I just maybe it was in a Discord chat, maybe it wasn't on YouTube. But
I
if
feel
my
like we did
son
talk about this before.
yeah, if one of my kids ever won and they wanted to keep it, it's like okay, easy, they keep it. If they ever wanted to sell it, I would like figure out what market price was. I would not lowball them. I would intend to buy it from them at a slight premium to what market price was. Hopefully I'm in a financial position to always be able to do that throughout my life. I mean, very unlikely scenario that they would ever win one. But if they were to, I would buy it from them and then they would just inherit it back whenever I passed or maybe even earlier than that. I would buy it back from them and then sell it to them cheap if they ever wanted it back when they were at a point where they could justify. 'Cause I think people get weird about it. I think people get like kind of going on what we were earlier. People get like offended that some people buy other people's cards. It's like whatever. Like somebody decides they'd rather have the money, someone decides they'd rather have the card, and the deal happens. It's weird how often people get so worked up over transactions that they're not a party to. Uh, but yeah, like when you make a card that valuable, I mean that's life changing money to a lot of people. $50,000, $100,000, and I think it's only reasonable that a lot of people take the route of, and I think it's great. I mean, I think some people are probably only playing the TCG or playing it more seriously because they know that there's actually a financial incentive that could be waiting for them at the end. Massive one, a six-figure one.
Hmm. Yeah, that is definitely some good incentive there.
Yeah. Oh, I jumped. Oh, I jumped to the bottom to highlight that comment. I was wondering why I was at the bottom.
Oh my goodness.
If you want to start here, Mr. Mass Modern Ripper, Corey Donmeyer wants to know: will English ever upgrade the textures on cards?
Probably not. To be as good, like the Japanese texture does look better, I think, on most cards. Some cards you really can't tell too much of a difference, but I would say the most noticeable one for me was the 151 Zapdos SIR. That card looks so good in Japanese, and in English, it just looks good. It looks like way better in Japanese than it does in English, and it's the same artwork. It's just literally the texture being different and like these subtle changes. Um, but the Japanese version looks a million times better, and I don't think English will ever change to the Japanese version. We're still trying to improve print quality over here in English. I know Japanese isn't the best print quality anymore, but even their bad print quality is like our good print quality. So I think English is just so far behind Japan. I don't think we'll ever get there. It's the same thing as like why didn't we get Master Balls? Why don't we get the Pokeball reverses? We get this ugly, just flower-looking reverse holo. That just does not look good. I don't understand all the like subtle differences with English and Japanese. Doesn't make sense to me.
I could see a time in the future where sales seem to be floundering, which some might argue is starting to happen with Scarlet and Violet. But then look at 151, like those sales are not floundering. I could see them stepping up their game if they ever felt they had to, with things like better textures, matching more like what Japanese goes on. Especially if they see like historically speaking, English has done a lot better than Japanese. I think is a fairly safe thing to say. If they ever saw Japanese like significantly and regularly outpacing English, they would probably bring more of that over. But they've not really had that issue, as far as I understand. So. Chevals wants to know thoughts on Spicy Boys TV. I like the channel, but they don't post enough.
Um, yeah, I haven't seen anything from them in a long time. I was
Yeah.
in one live early on talking about worlds. I think that was the last thing I saw from them.
He's done a couple videos, but he needs to do more.
Maybe it's another Pokemon Wonder. I'm not actually subscribed.
Yep, we know Nick didn't subscribe. You just went down in Ernie's book. Skater Nesta says, I got a question. Should I make more money or less? I mean, if you make less money, you pay less in taxes. So that's what I've heard.
You make more money, you pay less in taxes?
Did I say that wrong? If you make less money, you pay less in taxes. That's what I meant to say.
There we go. There we go. Although I don't know, Mr. Trump over there, he probably paid less taxes than both of us. Um, uh, yeah, sure, Nesto.
Okay,
I
here
don't
we
know. You don't make much money as it is. Can you make less? Is that possible? I don't
Oh
know if it is. I
man.
don't know if it is.
Oh, he's gonna like that one. Got him. Uh, that's funny. So we got Bradham Barr, who must be an eBay Live regular. Then we know Nick's thoughts on PSA versus CGC versus Beckett. Your opinion? I don't know if this is like a what angle this is exactly, but as far as my business goes, I use all three. There are opportunities with all three. If you want to just go based on the slab alone, I prefer CGC's the best. I like the label the best. I like the clarity of the case. Like far and away, CGC is leagues above as far as like the case goes. And then the cost is nice too. The turnaround is lacking lately. But to me, it goes CGC way out in front for the case. And then PSA and BGS are kind of on par. Like, I think they're both fine. I like the black label. I like the how that looks and all that. Overall, I guess I would lean Beckett, but the slabs are too bulky to me, I guess. They're almost the thickness of like 2 PSA slabs. But if it's a black label, you can justify it. So just great black labels.
Just great black. Yeah, I pretty much had the same thing. CGC by far in the lead. Really like them. PSA in the middle, and then BGS is like way down in the dumps. I don't like BGS. Yes, they have the black label play. But as a collector, I can't stand them. I hate everything about them. Their cases look terrible. Their website is awful. Customer service is non-existent. They take way too long. They're grading the least amount of cards, and they take the longest. How that makes sense, I have no idea. Yeah, I don't like them whatsoever.
Akibana says, Dan, what are your thoughts on sealed being so bad for the last several sets aside from 151? The increased wholesale cost and what this means for LGS going forward with profits shrinking or going away. It's kind of like that price goes up because price goes up scenario, or price goes down because price goes down. I don't know print numbers, and no one really does. I mean, I guess people higher up at distributors know how much they got of Scarlet and Violet versus the late Sword and Shield sets and whatever. But some amount of it is too much supply. Too much supply not only decreases demand to some extent because people get their fill and they get as much as they want. But yeah, it's tough when you print so much, not necessarily in uh absolute terms, but in relative terms, when you print so much supply relative to the demand that there is at that time, you just get into this situation that people presume it's going to be available for some time. So why buy it now? I think a lot of people, myself included, are chasing a little bit of the accessible, are chasing a little bit of the more accessible priced Sword and Shield era sets. Like somebody earlier in chat mentioned that they got Silver Tempest at 550. Like, why would you buy a case of a set at maybe 500, 480, 500, $80 a box, which some of these Scarlet Violet sets are available at? Why would you buy a case for 80 a box of a set that just came out that's more likely going to be available for 2+ years at distribution compared to a set that maybe just got its last reprint? Set like Lost Origin, set like Silver Tempest, we don't know for sure, but it feels fairly more likely that that set's not going to be around as long, that that's not going to be as attainable for sub 100 a box. So like, if you have to choose one or the other, why not go for those ones? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. They only want to hear your thoughts. um, it's honestly, I'm happy with how things are at right now. We're getting back to normal. This is how things were pre-boom. You really couldn't make money selling sealed boxes. Um, and distributors weren't selling out completely at release. We can still order unlimited quantity of Scarlet and Violet base, Obsidian, Paldea. 151 is limited, very limited on 151. But we can still order unlimited quantity of the Scarlet and Violet era, which is what I want. I want to be able to not have to order whatever. I got 100 and I forget. I got 180 boxes of Paradox Rift. I don't want to have to order 180 boxes right out of the gate. I'd rather lower my initial release numbers and be able to reorder that stuff a month from now, a couple weeks from now, whatever. And just be able to call up my distributor and say, "Hey, I'm running low on Paradox Rift. Can I grab some more?" Yeah, of course. I'd rather a situation like that than have to pay so much money up front and have to slowly sell through this stuff. So I actually really like how things are right now, and I think it's a little bit healthier in a way. Obviously, stores aren't making nearly as much as they were, and it's a lot harder to make a profit on modern nowadays. But I think we're in a much better spot. It's a lot more stable right now than it was before.
Mm. And Pokemon Classics talked about the bullwhip effect in a video a month or two ago, maybe. I forget exactly when that came out. I'm terrible with time. But I think that's a very valid thing. A lot of the pandemic, both logistic delays combined with the surge in demand, just had crazy effects on the market. And a lot of that's being caught up on, and you just kind of have a glut in the system because of all that transpired over the past year or two. It's just an effect of what went on coming down off that crazy, crazy high period. Uh, I just had the question, lost it. Here we go. So Anime Life wants to know if you could change one starter design, which one would it be and why? Um, I'm assuming any of the starters from any generation. So there's like 27 to choose from. 9 generations, I think we have, right?
Yeah, yep.
Do you have anyone that jumps right out of you?
I know what I'm gonna say just because I know anime life.
Uh-oh. Well, you go and I'll
I'm gonna
think.
say by far the worst starter in existence is Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur just he needs to go. He needs to go. He can literally be replaced by anyone.
Um, I don't feel too strongly against any of the starters. I feel like the ones that I'm least aware of and least attached to are like the Gen 4 through 6 ish, which makes sense because I played the games Gen 1 through 3, and then I've been pretty deep back into the hobby. What was XY? Was that Gen 6 or Gen 7? XY Sun Moon Sword Shield. That must have been Gen 5,
Six,
6. We're on Gen 10 then,
six,
right?
7, 8. Yeah, six.
We're on Gen 10 with Scarlet Violet, must be. XY
I guess so. Yeah.
Sun and Moon Sword and Shield Scarlet Violet. Maybe that's 9. I don't know. It's too late. I would
Too many.
say one of the starters between Gen 4 and Gen 6. What is that, like Turtwig or something? Turtwig or one of those guys. Just because they have
Yeah.
the unfortunate situation that I wasn't experiencing them firsthand at the time. No fault of their own.
I will add some context for you, Dan. Anime Life absolutely loves Bulbasaur. So that's why I said Bulbasaur is the worst one.
Yeah.
We always argue about that in the lives.
Ernesta says I'm not subbing, so I'm at the point where I asked for subs and I didn't get a single sub. We're still at 14.95.
That's because we lost all our old subs and we gained the new ones.
I didn't see it move one time, so I don't think anyone's doing anything with that button. Uh,
It was simultaneously.
Julia says deleting Embor or Incineroar, definitely. Yeah, I don't have any strong feelings towards any of those ones that I wasn't around for. Piplup was a starter, Fresh Task asked. Don't be talking down on Piplup. He was Black and White era, I guess, right? So technically I wasn't around for that one as he came out, but I like Piplup. I'm a fan of that line. Penguins are cool. Ugh, I just jumped to the bottom again. Julia says, my brother learned the TCG last week in just one night from playing it on the TCG Live. Seems pretty newcomer friendly. I think I'm pretty aware. Like I've never gone through and actually done it, but when I was at Worlds, both Worlds I went to, I actually sat down and watched a decent amount of events. Like it was pretty cool watching those final tables. Uh I was pretty aware of like what good playable singles were from the time frame maybe 2014 to 2017. Not all of them, but a decent amount of them that were in a lot of the pre-constructed decks and things like that. So I know fairly well how it works, but I've just never gone through and actually done it, the mechanics and all that. I'm sure I'll pick it up fairly easy, but I'm looking forward to it. Danny wants to know Japanese classic collection thoughts. Are you buying any?
I wanted to get one. I wasn't gonna do a play with it. I just wanted to get one to keep it sealed, and it's just too expensive. It was gonna be like I got it. It was like $400 plus $200 shipping. So it's like $600 to get it, and yeah, that's just too much right now. I don't want it that bad. I would have liked to get one, but I'm just gonna stick with English for now. If pricing does come down, Maybe I'll pick one up at some point, but I wasn't gonna I wasn't gonna do any plays with it. I'm not gonna grade them. Do that whole play with it. I just wanted it for myself, so I'm just gonna wait and see what happens. And if pricing goes down on them, which I hope it does, then I'll pick one up. But for right now, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I'm not buying any.
I
My
think it's a
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say I think it's a really good product. I really like the look of it, and I did not know how big they were. Those things are gigantic. I'll be curious to see what the English one looks like.
Apparently, Piplup is Gen 4 as well. Fresh Tats mentions that he got it confused with Oshawa. I think I might have been getting it confused. I don't know. I don't know how I was thinking Piplup was black and white. But anyways, I am not buying any Japanese ones. I'm only getting my allocation. I think I'm getting 6 or 7 English ones between my two distributors. And kind of tying in Ernesto's question, if you were getting Japanese Classic Collection boxes, would you keep sealed or open and flip? I would open and flip. If I opened one or two and got destroyed on print quality, especially if I knew they were coming out of the same cases, then I would probably just try to move them on for break even or something. I lean towards the fact that I think they'll kind of drift down short to intermediate term. I guess very short to short term, maybe not short to intermediate term, but I just feel like there's better, if you're gonna sit on it sealed, I feel like there's better things to tie up your capital in sealed. But if the quality's high, I definitely think there are early out of the gate, race to the bottom, whatever you want to call them. There's definitely those plays going to be available.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same way. Straight out of the gate, definitely an opportunity. But I do think there's going to be good opportunity long term, keeping them sealed. Um, Flipping it sealed, buying it and flipping it sealed. I don't think there's much money there. Because shipping is going to cost a fortune to ship that thing. And then there's going to be a lot of them. Obviously, being in the U.S., you might be able to get a premium. Shipping not taking so long. Um, but yeah, opening would definitely be the play if you want to make money. Like immediately, and then I think long term, keeping it sealed could be a good play too.
Yeah, I just feel like kind of the conversation I just had on if you had to put equal amounts of money in Scarlet and Violet base versus like Lost Origin or Silver Tempest, it feels like the capital's better put into Lost Origin or Silver Tempest just because it's that much older, that much less likely to be reprinted again. It feels like it's gonna run out quicker at distribution. Uh, so similar situation. I'd be like, if you're gonna put $400 tied up in something, it feels like the likelihood of something that's $100 doubling to 200 would happen before that double to 800 or whatever. If you're solely looking at sealed, but it's impossible to say. Like, who knows? For all we know, that could be $1,000 in a year or something if they really don't print that much.
Mhm.
A lot of meme questions in the chat, trying to find the next legitimate one.
Well,
uh,
I hope you grab Anime Life's next question. I don't know where you are.
your opinion on communism? You want that one? That's the one that I see next.
Yeah, that was it.
Well, there you go. What's your opinion on communism? Oh man.
You're not going to be able to turn that one. You're not going to be able to turn that meme question into an actual answer.
Most meme questions could be safe. You go first. I think I got something. I think I could do something with it.
Absolutely no idea.
I should probably stay
I
away
just
from it.
thought
I don't
that was
know.
funny.
I feel like that one's that one's radioactive. That there's nothing good to come from touching that one. Uh
Oh god, I just thought that was funny when I saw that.
um, Benji the man says, "Have you both been opening for singles still, or is that ship sailed for the two of you?" Yeah, I don't rip for singles. It's been quite some time since I've done that. I think Nick's done it more recently, but I haven't done that since like 2018ish, maybe. I don't know.
Um, Me, yes, I do still. It's changed a lot. Like obviously the beginning of the year. Um, it was the beginning of the year. What was the first set of the year? We had. Oh God.
Crown
I
Zenith
can't even
was
remember. What was the
early.
first? Crown Zenith was the first set.
Yeah.
Yes, Crown Zenith was the first set of the year. So Crown Zenith, I did do a mass opening of, and I was selling singles. Scarlet and Violet, I did the same thing. Uh, Paldea, I did the same. Obsidian, I did the same. 151, I kept sealed and sold everything. I'm selling everything sealed. Paradox Rift is the first set where I've kind of changed my focus. Now I'm still, because I'm getting so many boxes through my distributor. I'm still doing a mass opening. Like my plan is to open 60 boxes of Paradox Rift, and I'm planning on grading a lot of the cards. A lot of the hit cards. And then some of the cooler like reverse hollows and stuff like that to have inventory for my eBay lives. And then I'm gonna build complete reverse hollow sets and everything else, all the like the non-hollow stuff, the commons, the uncommons, the trainers, all of that stuff. I'm just gonna sell in 1,000 card lots. So I'm
Mm.
not really fully optimizing my openings, but I think it will do well with the grading and selling through eBay Lives. So that's kind of why I'm still doing these mass openings when I can. Obviously, 151, I was so limited on product that I really couldn't justify opening half of what I got. Um, so I didn't do it for that set, but moving forward, I'm still gonna do it for sets that I can, where I'm able to get a ton of product, um, just so that way I can keep a consistent flow of new cards coming in and new cards getting graded and all of that stuff. So it has changed a little bit, but I'm still opening it. I still really do enjoy opening sets. Paradox Rift, I wasn't sure how I would like it. I try not to look at the spoilers and all that stuff on Discord and Instagram and all that stuff. But so I saw a few of them. Really wasn't sure how I would like Paradox, but I actually really do like it. The illustration rares and the SIRs, they look really, really good. So I am excited for this set now. It's not as good as for me. The best set outside of 151 has been in Scarlet and Violet has been Paldea Evolved. It's not as good as Paldea, but it's definitely a close second. Followed by Obsidian, and then way down at the bottom, Scarlet and Violet base.
I I should say, I mean, I don't only interact with Pokemon. I do mass rips, but they're just for MetaZoo. I think my ability to have like the partner pricing, significantly lower pricing relative to early market pricing on the MetaZoo boxes, relative to, so there's less competition in MetaZoo mass box breaks. My pricing is better, and there's a decent, I mean, relatively speaking, obviously, MetaZoo's a fraction of what Pokemon is, but there's a decent sized player base that needs singles. There's people playing in towers, playing in all these tournaments, and I probably supplied the vast majority of like the, not the vast majority, probably the most of any other box breaker for MetaZoo. A lot of those singles. So I'm doing it where I have advantages, and I'm doing it where the hourly rate of pay is solid. And recently, it's just not been there for Pokemon for me. I've not had the incentives, I guess, to do it in Pokemon. If the incentives ever came, then I definitely would, because I do enjoy opening product as well. Brad G Card says, Dan, I haven't seen a burnt steak picture in months. Did you give up on grilling? I still grill quite a bit. I, I
Wow.
I got a smoker in the spring though, so I've been doing more smoking this summer than anything. I actually just did a prime rib. I smoked a prime rib and I did pork belly burnt ends for this past weekend at a family get together. Man, they were a hit. They were amazing. No leftovers of that. Leftovers of everything else that was brought to the party. I think. Those were awesome. But yeah, I haven't been posting those as much in Discord anymore. I got to start posting more again. I don't know where he's coming up with this burnt steak though. Always a nice medium rare with a nice crust on the outside. That's the way to be with steaks. Medium rare, but with a nice crust. Get that grill cranking.
I actually made some I was very impressed with myself. Perfectly cooked steaks tonight. It was a perfect medium.
Talk us through your process. Do you do like
Just a little bit.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just a little bit salt and pepper, olive oil. Put the grill on, crank it up to till it gets to like 500. Throw the steaks on, set a timer for 2 minutes, and then make your little crosshatch pattern there. So rotate it 90 degrees after 2 minutes. Put it on for another 2 minutes. After that, flip it over another 2 minutes. Do a little crosshatch again. Another 2 minutes, and then it's done.
Man,
Perfectly medium.
4 minutes per side. How do you wait so long? 10 minutes. Do you do like do you rest it for a while before you cut into it, or do you just go into it like a savage and just lose all those juices? Depending on how hungry you are, probably, right?
Usually rest it for like 10 minutes. Tonight I was a savage and just basically ate it off the grill because I was in a rush.
As long as when you're done, you drink the drippings off the plate, then we're good. As long as you don't let them go to waste. I saying that, I have like a cup worth of au jus probably left from the prime rib I did last weekend. I haven't had the heart to just like dump it or something. I'm probably gonna end up just taking a shot of it here and there. Oh man, that stuff is so good.
A shot of
Oh.
it. That's nasty.
I could just drink it. Like if you make au jus, well, it's homemade au jus, beef stock. You take the drippings from the prime rib, you throw in some seasonings. A lot of the seasonings kind of drip into it from the prime rib as it cooks. Oof, man, so good, so good. But Brad says Dan found out his meat was mechanically tenderized and jumped ship. I was actually very, very disheartened by finding out that Costco steaks were all mechanically tenderized. It's especially when you eat medium rare, it's not an ideal thing because it takes like the bacteria and stuff from the outside of the steak and pushes it into the middle. That's why like ground meat you're supposed to cook a fair bit higher because everything just gets mixed in together. Whereas steaks you're kind of fine as long as you cook the surface well and keep the insides towards medium rare. Rare even is fine. But I'm gonna only buy whole cuts from Costco anymore because I'm not a big fan of the whole mechanically tenderized thing. I will say though, Walmart steaks getting a bump up because I don't believe those are mechanically tenderized.
There we go. There we go. Another reason to buy from Walmart.
Cheval says, "Should I flip my steaks?" Cheval's a pure collector boy. No flipping his steaks. One side well done, one side rare. That's the only way to eat them as a pure collector boy, steak eater. Ooh, here we go. The anime life. I think he's gonna miss the answer because he's probably gone to bed now. But my last question before I go to bed: what got you first into Pokemon? The 99 boom. Everyone was into
question.
it. But as far as like more specifically the game, Pokemon Yellow. Man, I love that thing. I went with Yellow. Yellow was my first game. And for anyone who doesn't remember way back then, for anyone who wasn't there way back when, and I don't remember the time frames, but original Game Boy came out and Red and Blue were for Game Boy. I didn't get it until like I got a Game Boy Color and I got Pokemon Yellow at the same time. I don't know if I was just months behind. I don't know if I was a full year behind. I think it was more months, not a year. But I played some of my cousins, and I played some friends and stuff. I experienced a little bit of Red and Blue, and I wanted it myself. And then I saved up either birthday money or Christmas money, whatever it was. And I remember going to Toys R Us. First time I ever spent over $100, and it was on $70 Kiwi, Kiwi Game Boy Color, and a $30 Pokemon Yellow. $110 with tax. I still remember it. That was so much money at that time, but I had to. I'm actually gonna look up while you give your answer the release dates between Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow.
The anime. Answer it super quickly.
So
Mine would be mine is definitely the anime. I don't remember what got me into it initially. Probably just hearing other kids talk about it in school, and then seeing it on TV or seeing commercials for it or whatever. But I remember I was huge into the anime, and I would watch it every morning before school, every day after school. Um, and then it became I got into the cards. I actually never got into the video games. I never had a Game Boy growing up, so I never played the video games. I did play like Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap on the N64. I played those games, but like Red, Blue, Yellow, never played those games. So for me, it was definitely the anime, and then the cards, and then a little bit of the games, like the N64 games. But yeah, that was definitely it for me. But I don't remember how I first heard about it. Probably other people, um, somewhere, something like that.
I looked it up, and I don't really see anything too definitive. It says that Red and Blue were released in North America and Australia in '98. Doesn't say exactly when. And then Yellow was released in Japan in '98 and other regions in '99 and 2000. So I assume that Red and Blue were '98 in the US, and then a year later. I don't know if it's like, I mean, it could be anywhere between 2 months later and 20 months later, right? Depending on where in the year they fell. So I'm not entirely sure,
Mhm.
but I do remember there being probably at least a few months of people playing Red and Blue before I got my own. But yeah, I put so many hours. We've talked about I've definitely talked about playing Pokemon Yellow and then Crystal for so many hours. Love those. Uh Nick, thoughts on waking up to fresh cooked bacon in the morning? That's very plus EV.
We, we were talking about like the best sitcoms during the live this afternoon, and we brought up the Office, and we talked about like my favorite episode is the CPR episode. And then I think it was you, Fresh Tats. You brought up how your favorite episode was the one where Michael has the George Foreman in his room because he likes waking up to the smell of bacon in the morning, and he burns his foot on the George Foreman.
Such a good show.
That is such a good show.
Jeff wants to know because you rank your Scarlet and Violet sets. I've not seen too many spoilers for Paradox Rift yet. I didn't join in on Nick's eBay Live rip stream earlier. I see some stuff here and there on Discord and Instagram, obviously, but I think I'm pretty in line with Nick. I forget exactly how did you do Paldea, then Paradox Rift, then Obsidian, then Scarlet Violet base?
Diane, because you just got coffee me.
I think that's about where I'd be, but I'm not like very passionate about that. I'm not super like you mentioned that Scarlet and Violet was drastically below. I don't know. I would put them all. That one's probably a decent step below, but yeah, I'm not too like I'm not too dead set on that. 151, I guess, being the lead one because that is Scarlet and Violet. So 151, then Paldea, and so on.
Yeah, that was the theme I had. We're on the same page there.
Dustin said, "Wait, did you say medium? Unsaving seller now." I actually it is funny. I'm fine with people eating their steaks however they want to. Like this is another thing where people do get kind of weird. I actually follow like the there's a subreddit just called steak. There's a subreddit called smoking. Uh I cringe a little bit when I'm out somewhere and I see like my grandparents order well done steak and they eat it with ketchup. Like I feel like some people could use some light prodding towards the light, but then if they try it and they actually don't like it and they resist it, it's like some people just get so like you need to eat it the way that I do. Everyone has different palates, different taste buds, whatever. It's not a huge deal. The only thing I do very strongly dislike though, when I'm cooking steaks and someone comes over and that like I hate cooking steak well done because it's just like they're gonna complain about it being dry. And it's like, what do you expect? I mean, you can, depending on the cut, depending on the cook method, you can do a well done steak where it's still fairly juicy, but it's so much more of a project. And it's like, I only want to cook to medium, rare to medium, because it's just cumbersome. And I generally don't do steak when a lot of people are coming over. I more tend to do pulled pork or something along those lines because it's a lot easier.
I know what I'm asking for the next time I come over.
Medium is
A
fine. Like
charred, well done steak.
I was actually like I was probably raised more on well done steaks, and I was probably eating them with
Really?
ketchup. I was probably eating them with ketchup too. It's just like the way my parents were raised, and I uh I forget when I was younger how they ate them. I feel like my parents eat them more rare now, like more towards rare. They eat them more medium rare now. And as
Mhm.
I grew up, I forget when I first started trying more rare. But and my kids, I do mine medium rare. I do my wife more towards medium, and then my kids eat off my wife's steak, so they eat like medium steak from the jump. So they're pushing them towards the light. But I mean, if at some point they start asking me, if my kids ask me to cook it well, whatever, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to do it better. But
Mhm.
Dustin says, I had someone ask for a well done steak with a little pink in it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, there's definitely some issues around people not even knowing what the differences are, and like they order a medium rare and then they're shocked when there's like pink in the middle, when there's like some pink towards red in the middle. It's like, yeah, just unreasonable expectations and lack of education, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Nick's sleeping on
Uh,
Montreal seasoning. I'm a big fan of Montreal seasoning. I guess my process, I usually Montreal season the steak and I put it on like a wire rack in the fridge about 24 hours before I cook it. Usually just overnight. Sometimes I've gone as long as 2 days, but I don't think that does much. What it does though, I pat it dry and then I season it some. It like sucks out the moisture from the surface of the steak so that when you put it on the grill, there's not so much moisture there. You're not like steaming the steak. If you dry it out more, which being in a refrigerator overnight with salt on it will do that. You get a better crust. Like I'm
mhm.
all about a nice crust cooked very high for a couple minutes on each side. Get me that perfect medium rare without that thick gray band in it from doing it too low and slow. Uh, I think one issue I used to have a long time ago before I learned how to cook a steak, I used to cook it towards medium rare, but just like way too slow. I was afraid to crank the grill all the way up and just be flipping it quick and going because that's what it's all about. Getting that nice crust on it, but keeping the inside where you want it to be. Man, I'm getting hungry. All this steak talk. Oh,
Dan's gonna fire up the grill after this.
yeah. I might go take a shot of that au jus before bed. Oh god. Panga says you lose all the flavor cooking it. I eat it straight, cut off the animal. Uh,
Eat it like sushi. Uh,
here's an interesting one. I mean, I'll be interested to hear your answer, and I'll have to think of mine. But Ghetto says, "What's the
oh,
longest you've
God.
gone without sleeping?" That's actually an interesting one.
Ugh, I don't like that. I don't like that. I do not like not sleeping. Remember as a kid, like you never wanted to go to bed and you wanted to stay up as late as possible. I don't know why kids are like that. I wish we still had nap time and all that. But I don't know. If there's no um Coast Guard people in here, the PC answer is I never worked over my hours that I could work on a ship. But in actuality, going through like certain things on a ship, usually it's very like clockwork. You work your shift, you get off your shift, you go back to your shift the next day. But there's certain times that they call it all hands, where everyone in my department has to be working. And those times are going through like the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, any of those like really high traffic areas. And the Panama Canal specifically, it's a long transit. It takes I forget exactly. It takes like 12 hours to get through the Panama Canal. But then before that you go through the Panama Canal, you got to do all types of inspections, and they got to look through all your paperwork and all this stuff. You have inspectors come on the ship, and you got to show them around of different things. And there's a lot of like regulations and paperwork that you got to work through before you actually transit the canal. So for me, it would be like a 24-hour, 30 hour day. It just so happened where I did my I did my midnight to noon shift. And when I got off at noon, we were just getting to the Panama Canal. And so I got off at noon, and then like an hour or 2 hours later, we had all the inspectors come on, and then we had to raise the anchor. The pilot came on, so we had to raise the anchor. Pilot came on, and we actually transited the canal. And so it was a very very long day. I do not do good without sleep. So that was my day. That was the longest I've done. Do not enjoy it whatsoever.
How many
I need
consecutive
I need a
hours was it?
solid. What was that?
How many consecutive hours was it?
I forget. It was definitely at least 24 hours. I think it was probably closer to 30, maybe a little bit less. Um, but it was definitely a whole day.
I've definitely done 24 hours like several times in my life. Back in college, we used to go to Vermont. We used to either go to Okemo or Stratton, me and my roommate and a couple other buddies. I snowboarded. We had a couple snowboarders and a couple skiers, but we'd get up at like 5 in the morning on a Saturday morning, and we'd go and we'd ski most of the day, snowboard most of the day, and we'd be back home around 5, 6. We'd get dinner, and then we'd like party. And there were many, many times that we'd just end up partying till 5 in the morning. Boom, there's your 24 hours. It was always in an instance where like we're in college, we're leading into a Sunday where we're not gonna do shit. So it's like it didn't matter. We would do a 24
Mhm.
hour from Saturday, and then we just wake up and it's like, oh hey, Sunday night football starting, or whatever it may be. It's like there were definitely times where I slept through the whole 1 o'clock window, the whole 4 o'clock window, and there's also been times where it's like we did that. There was a couple racquetball tournaments too. I remember there was one racquetball tournament in particular where I had matches. I think my first match to start the day. Certain times they would start at 8 a.m. And this one was in Albany. We had a fairly small club in Albany. So I think I had matches that day, like 5 matches that day maybe, and they were just spread miserably. And the tournament was running behind. I want to say my final match was at like 2 a.m. That one probably didn't go quite 24 hours, but that was one of the most exhausted times I've ever been in my life because I played multiple matches of racquetball that day. I actually like I remember intentionally driving on the rumble strips for a portion of the drive with the window down. I had the window down, I had the radio up. I was like almost falling asleep. I will never forget how exhausted I was at that point. It was absurd. That was very dangerous. I should not have even driven. I should have just stayed home, or not stayed home. I should have just literally slept at the club because that was bad. But and then so over 24 hours, probably several times, many intentionally, just because I'm stupid. And then one of my buddies back in like high school, we used to go to one of his relatives had a cabin on a lake, and we'd stay in the boathouse, and just for like no reason whatsoever, we'd pick one day out of our week-long thing. We'd just be like, hey, the forecast is rainy tomorrow. Let's just like pull an all-nighter. We'd be fishing at like 8 in the morning that morning, get up normal time, go do whatever, maybe go do a round of golf, do some swimming, do some fishing. And I mean, I am a fisherman after all. And then we'd just be like, we'd be having a couple beverages, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, like, hey, when do we were intentionally just going for 24 hours. It's like, we want to do an all-nighter. We want to make sure it's 24 hours. Then we'll go to bed, sleep through the rainy day. So I've done them a lot. Think of the average Collecticon, though. I mean, we were bad for a stretch. Orlando this year, we were staying up till 5 and then waking up at 7:30. Like we were almost doing 24 hours at Collecticons. Just
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, 24 hours has happened a lot. But I've never done like I've never gone over 30. I can confidently say that. I've probably never done over like 26, 28, but I've done 24 a lot.
Hmm.
Julia says, do you guys remember your first ever booster pack? I still remember my rare was Imposter Professor Oak. LOL, I didn't mind back then because I pulled Squirtle. I unfortunately don't remember my first ever booster pack. I definitely remember the Christmas that I got Charizard, and I definitely remember the feeling and just like the energy from that. I remember trading for Venusaur on the bus. I remember when I pulled Blastoise. That was the only original 3 that I pulled myself. So I don't remember my first pack, but I definitely do have a few standout memories.
Yeah, I don't remember my first pack either. The first the I only remember opening a few things. I had a decent, not a huge collection, but I had a decent collection, I remember. I just don't know where it all came from. The only things I really remember opening, I remember opening a brush fire theme deck, because I thought Charizard could be in there, but it was just Ninetales, unfortunately. And then I remember opening my last pack, which was Team Rocket. Vividly remember opening that one, which got me out of the hobby. I don't know why I remember that one so vividly, but I don't remember opening anything in between. And I had to have opened stuff because I remember having base, jungle, and fossil cards. I don't know. I don't know where they all came from or why I don't remember it.
I definitely remember pulling like towards the end when it was going out of favor. I know both me and my best friend, still my best friend today, we both got a lot of like base, jungle, fossil, and base 2 packs when they were like $1 a pack or $2 a pack at KB Toys or whatever. We were still fairly into it. We were still playing the games. And I remember that year Christmas, just we both got a fair bit. And I definitely remember pulling like a Dragonite. And I think I got more fossil unlimited, and he got a lot more base 2 than I did. Because there was a year where he pulled a Charizard from base 2, and I never had pulled one. But I distinctly remember pulling and loving the arts of like the Articuno and the Zapdos and the Dragonite. Like just getting all those like legendary, and Dragonite's not legendary, but he feels legendary in a lot of ways in like the video game and stuff. And I remember just grinding that Dratini, getting all the way up to level 55, taking that Dragonite to the Elite Four and just wrecking wrecking people. And then to pull that card, I remember really enjoying that experience. But that was by no means my first packs, but highlight packs for sure.
Yep.
Brad says, I'm a fisherman after all. Bet this dude doesn't even own a single fishing pole. I've not gone
I saw
fishing.
that.
I've probably not gone fishing in like, I don't know when the last time was. Years. Not since I've had kids, I don't think. So at least 5 years. I want to take them soon because in New York you have to have a license to go. I mean, people do go without, and if you get caught, it's just a fairly expensive fine. Whatever. I've only ever been checked a couple times, but I have a lifetime license. Like I bought my lifetime license years ago, decades ago. Because if you do it throughout your life, which I do intend to, it pays for itself within like a little over 10 years. So I've already gotten all the money back out of it. But I really want to take my kids sometime soon and see how they like it because I started fishing from a young age. We had boats and jet skis and stuff growing up, and I did a lot of fishing and hunting growing up.
Yep. Yeah, me too. Do you guys need to have fishing licenses for the ocean? You don't live close to the ocean at all, so maybe you don't know.
I don't know.
But in Massachusetts they started doing that. I don't know. I think it's a state by state thing. I don't think it's a federal thing. But they never used to have you never used to have a license for the ocean. And back maybe it was a while back, like 2015, 2016, they started making you have licenses for saltwater fishing, which is that's so stupid. You can kind of understand freshwater, 'cause, like they stock the ponds and stuff. They have like state parks around them and all that stuff. But ocean fishing, you need a fishing license? Come on.
I can see it more for like commercial vessels where they're worried about things being fished to extinction and wildlife management, all that stuff. But I don't know. I guess some of that comes into like, yeah, what one would, me personally, just the way I like the idea that someone could just go live off the land, go whatever, without having to get the government involved in all that through licensure. But it's always been a thing. I think when I was 16, I think I paid for a year or two of the fishing license. The price started going up like crazy. I bought my full Super Sportsman lifetime. I paid like $700. Uh,
Mhm.
but I think at the time the annual Super Sportsman was like $65. So I think like the 11th year was going to be a break even. And I'm gonna look up right now what the Super Sportsman lifetime license costs. If I had to guess, it's probably over $1,000.
Oh, it's gotta be with inflation, all that. So you're plus EV on those now. Look at you.
Actually, they're showing 765 right now. I was gonna say at one point the fishing license alone did get a cut because at one point the fees were just going nuts. I think a lot less people started buying them. So I think they did get cut at one point. Maybe they've not substantially increased anymore. I think that's about what I paid for it. But
I
again, I've been using it for 15 years now. I guess I'm probably only barely broke even because I just haven't gone in a while. But I do hope to go for many many more decades.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to get your kiddos into it.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, so Takibana said September 28th, 1998 was red and blue, and then yellow was October 1999. So that actually makes sense because
Okay.
I definitely didn't get yellow right when it come out because it must have been Christmas then. I distinctly remember. I couldn't remember if it was birthday or Christmas, but that release date tells me that it was more likely Christmas because I got like a few Toys R Us gift cards and I asked for them intentionally so that I could go and buy that with gift cards.
I didn't realize they were so close together.
Little
Or
over
no,
a
I'm sorry. I was thinking 99 and 99, a year
Yeah, a little
apart.
over a
Okay.
year, decently apart. I'm at the point of our steak talk. Now we're at the point of our sleep talk. Brad G Card says, "I still do nap time. Who gonna stop me?" Kids, if you ever have them, they will definitely do their best to not allow that. Brad G Cards wants to know predictions on how much Van Goghs are gonna move for at Houston.
Oh, I bet
Uh,
they'll be hot.
if mine aren't gradable, I think these three are all gradable though. I was gonna bring them. I probably just need to submit them. I guess that one has a white dot there. I guess I'll have at least one, but they'll probably move right at low list eBay, if not slightly above. I mean, I heard from Weedle's Warehouse in Denver. He was offering like a little bit below eBay, maybe minus fees. I think they were transacting at that time for around $100, and I think he was trying to get them for 90 to 100. Maybe he even offered slightly above what low list was, and people were holding out for like 120. They were probably getting it too. Like, yeah, the hype, especially then, the hype was more crazy.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's like it's more expensive right now. So is it was the hype more then than now? I think there's still a massive amount of hype with it. Uh, I don't know. I think if any of them aren't gradable, I would definitely bring them, and I think you would do very well with them.
Yeah,
I bet you there's people there, like people who go to Collecticon, who don't know what those cards are, and will
for
be like
sure.
amazed when they see it.
Yep,
And you might be able to sell it to one of them. Um, I bet you that will happen though.
I agree. Ernesto asked, Dan, can you do a 360 on a snowboard? I only ever got airborne a couple times, and it was mostly by accident, and it always ended, I think, in me falling. I did not do anything fancy. I went down the hill and tried not to fall. I think I got pretty good by the end of it. I could go quite fast. There were no trails on the mountain that I wouldn't do. I guess the only trails glades. I never did any glades. I think those are more of a skiing thing. I was never going through the crazy tree trails, but black diamonds, all that. I would do any trail with regards to that. I was not a big fan of the why am I losing the word? But the ones with the bumps all the way down. Why am I losing? Not slaloms, but there's actually a term for what those. It's like in the Olympics. There's an event where on skis they're doing the all those big humps in the snow. I can't think of what those are even called, but I was not a fan of those trails. But my roommate really liked them, so I do them occasionally. But yeah, I remember at one point I downloaded a GPS app in my phone so that I could see how fast I could go. Man, was that a mistake? Because I spent a whole day just like bombing every run, and it went fine, and I was getting higher and higher speeds. And then at one point, I think it was 40-ish, which I'm sure a lot of people have gone a lot faster than that. But on a snowboard at my skill level, that was pretty freaking fast. And I wiped out on that one bad. And I remember I skipped like 2 days of classes the next week because I couldn't walk. I don't know how. Somewhere on my phone I have a picture of my whole knee 6 inches above and below being just black. Like just I could not. I don't know how I didn't go to the doctors. I'm just like, I think it'll get fine, and somehow it did. But man, that was rough. That was real rough. So that was without me trying to get airborne. So thankfully, I never really tried to get airborne too much.
Uh,
uh, Brad says, Dan, how many timeshares have you been scammed into? No, where I used to fish, a couple of the lakes that I used to frequent, DEC's presence was actually like pretty significant. I remember I definitely had been checked a couple times, and I whenever I start fishing again, I'll probably start at more like smaller spots, not out on a boat on a lake. But yeah, there's definitely areas where there's more enforcement than others. So I'm sure a lot of people just dodge it all and don't ever buy a license. But I went the legitimate route.
What a
Takiba
goody two shoes over there. I'm the same way though. I'm the same way.
Takibana says I once did 8 days without sleep in middle school during summer when I first got really
Oh,
big into seasonal anime. I would I would highly push back on that, and I feel like there would have been a portion of that where you had to have fallen asleep and just like didn't realize it, didn't remember. I don't know how that's even like I know it's humanly possible. I think you can look up like people have stayed up like weeks, but I think there's been instances where people have just like died. People have died after like a week of trying to do like a week long live stream on Twitch or YouTube or something, and very very harmful. Please don't go out and try to stay awake for 8 days. That's crazy.
That is why I can't even imagine doing that. I'm getting tired already.
Yeah, we are over the 2 hour mark, and we actually are fully caught up in the chat. I don't know if Nick, you have anything else you want to cover. We've been talking about fishing and steaks and all this random stuff, which I enjoy. If people have questions, keep them coming. But anything you want to cover before we potentially wrap up?
Um, no, I think that was about it. I didn't have any other pressing topics I wanted to talk about. Oh, we do have should we announce our special guest next week? 2 weeks from now?
It did get leaked earlier on in the chat, so for everyone who stayed tuned until the very end, we probably should officially leak it. Panga says, "I heard the next guest is really cute. Thoughts? I would rate him a 10 out of 10, and we will be doing. It won't be a full Houston recap because Nick isn't going to Houston, but we will be doing a semi Houston recap in 2 weeks. I think we're gonna be back to our Friday afternoon schedule. We're gonna do Friday, November 17th at 1 p.m. I believe, back at our normal time slot or 1:15 p.m. But yeah, looking forward to that one.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. I'll be able to sit there and regret not going to Collecticon. That'll be fun. Be fun.
Manga says it'll be a Nick roast. Absolutely.
Rip deep kick Nick for that one.
No, we want him present for his roast. The roasty needs to be present. Um,
Oh God.
Dustin wants to know
Um,
if you have any new show recommendations.
what have I been watching? Not really. I haven't been watching much. It's been so busy.
Yeah,
Um, what I've been watching? What did I finish? Back a couple of weeks ago, I finished something that I liked, and I really liked it. What
you
was it
must you
called? The
must have
Lincoln
loved it.
Lawyer on Netflix.
Uh,
Um, The Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix. I would definitely recommend those. I really like the books. So I watched the show and it was good. It follows the books. It follows the books pretty good. I don't like shows that are like completely different than the books. But that was a good show. I watched the first. They have the first 2 seasons right now. Um, but yeah, that's the last show I watched.
yeah, with it being hockey just started and the World Series is still going on, basketball's starting up, football's going. I watch quite a bit of sports. I prefer live sports almost over any TV show. So while they're ongoing, I definitely watch a fair bit less. Mid-season, mid-hockey season, I'll definitely drift off watching. But I've been watching quite a bit of the Rangers lately. I would say the New York Rangers are the best show on ice. So I've been watching them a lot. I did watch at least a portion of I believe every game in their 5 game win streak. I was a fan of that. Um, but yeah, it's really been quite a while. My wife and I usually have one series that we're slowly working through. It's been a while since we've watched a new one. I guess we're currently watching new episodes that we've not yet seen before. I think we're in season 10. of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which we've literally been watching that for like years, off and on, to get to where we're in season 10. That show's funny. I feel like some of the episodes are a big miss, but some of the episodes are a real big hit too. Like that can be a really good show. Um, Other than that though, just a lot of sports.
Mhm.
Oh wait, the did the Rangers actually take care of business tonight? I clearly didn't follow it too closely. I knew they were up 3-1. I guess I didn't realize they were even. Yeah, so I guess the Rangers are your World Series champions. Um, Baseball's definitely my least paid attention to sport out of all the major ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even know who was playing. Well, I knew the Rangers because we were talking about it last night. But if we didn't talk about it, I would have absolutely no idea. I don't pay any attention to baseball.
Yeah, I watched last night and then it was just so busy today that I didn't even. I guess I should have known that it was probably gonna. Baseball, they pack the games in real tight. So many games, it's hard to follow. Um,
That's the thing. There's just way too many games. Hockey, there's a lot of games, but I actually do enjoy hockey. Football's the best sport though. Quick 16 game season, and unless the Patriots absolutely blow it like they have, uh,
17 game
then
season
then
now.
then maybe the Bruins are a little bit better.
They're doing 17
What
games
was that?
now. Since recently, they're
Yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah,
17.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm definitely far and away the biggest fan of the NFL. But every year, the NHL's been gaining more and more on it. But we've got a couple more questions. Takibana wants to know when's the next convention both of y'all will go to. We don't have the schedule yet for Collecticon. Pending schedule. I think we'll have to see when that comes out. Are you doing Card Party 2 for sure? Is that locked in?
It's not a definite. I didn't know. I didn't know Card Party and Collecticon were going to be so close. Which we don't know that for sure, but it sounds like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I really wish that's not the case because I love the Orlando Collecticon, and then I've also really wanted to go to the Card Party. So if they're both like right around that same time frame, I don't know. I think I would probably do Card Party over Collecticon. Just because like there's going to be other Collecticons that I could go to. Um, but I'm not fully decided yet. I want to wait and see what the Collecticon schedule looks like next year before committing to anything. How about yourself?
I'm in a
What are you thinking?
I'm in a pretty well. Thrifty says just do it and shut up. But I'm in a pretty similar spot. I wish it was just in February. Collecticon. I wish it would just be my default. Like, hey, let's open the season. Let's escape February New York weather and
Yep.
and go spend a long weekend in Florida. But I'll have to wait and see what the schedule looks like. I don't know that there's gonna be any like big super close weddings to me. One thing that always surprises me a bit is like how some people are just like blindly, and I guess they would. People say they're like 100% doing this one the next year. Well, what if some big wedding comes up? What if some big thing like it's hard to fully blindly commit without a date. Um, so we'll see how the schedule falls. We'll see what pops up in real life, I guess, and then I'll pick my 3 to 4 events from there. Uh, Card
Mhm.
Party, I'm kind of leaning away from. I really am not a fan of the idea of Florida in June. Like I'm a big dude. I sweat a lot. Like I don't want to have to bring 3 shirts per day. I actually remember watching the content from Japan at Worlds, and I remember John having a story where he talked about just like drenching his shirts in multiple shirts per day, and like, oh, I'm probably gonna have to do laundry on this trip. That's how I would be. I guess most times we're in the convention center. You're probably in air conditioned rooms most of the time, or in a pool or whatever. So it's probably not that big of a deal. But like 90, 100 plus degree weather is just so miserable. I hate it.
Yeah,
Uh,
and not even the temperature, but the humidity in Florida is absurd.
yeah,
So yeah, that would be that part does sound a little bit rough, but I think it's gonna be more so like you said, indoors by the pool. Whereas like Worlds, I feel like there was a ton of walking around outside.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah,
And
that is something.
I know I could go to Card Party and have a blast. I could go to if they had it in August and it was 120 degrees, I could go and I could have fun at it. I'm sure. It comes back to the thing I always say. What a great position we're in, having so many great things to choose from. I'll just wait and see what the schedule is, and then I'll pick the 3 to 4 that seem to be the best EV for me. You can't make all the plays, you can't make all the conventions. I just choose the ones that optimize my goals, which are moving some amount of inventory in cash and having a good time and seeing a lot of people. Card Party probably checks most of those boxes pretty well, so we'll see.
I'm surprised you. I'm surprised you're saying 3 to 4 now. Because what'd you do this year? You did 3 or 4?
I did Orlando, Dallas, Charlotte, and yeah,
Oh, okay.
Houston. Yeah, this is my fourth.
Yeah, I always thought you said 3 for some reason, but yeah, that's right. You said once a quarter. That
I
makes
think
sense. That makes sense. Never
I
mind.
think I've said 2 to 3 collecticons, and then like a wild card, because potentially it could be Worlds, potentially it could be something else. But the way that it worked this year, it just ended up being 4 collecticons, and Hawaii's unlikely next year. We'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
where things go. Part of it too is like me doing Florida. My wife is really pushing for getting the kids there to Disney, so I just dread the idea of having kids in tow who will probably be very like hot, sweaty, complaining themselves a lot. Like that just having kids in tow for a week in Disney in June does not sound optimal. Is I guess is what I'll say.
Yeah, that could be rough.
Nice to see you, Shiv. I see Shiv talking through the Vaulted podcast. Two sexiest dudes I know. I would push back on that heavily, but appreciate the sentiment. uh,
Oh God, I would push back on that heavily.
uh, Weddings ruining all printing plans. I definitely have heard of people saying that they were going to go to an event and then they had to bail because some certain wedding. Definitely real life can get in the way. Old card shops looking
Yeah,
forward to
yeah.
selling mystery packs at Card Party. I'm sure they'll do well. Every event, I guess Collecticon and Card Party, like there is the ability to move a lot of product for sure. Um, I think with that though, I just got to the bottom of the chat again. I don't see any active questions. We'll probably use that opportunity to wrap a little bit under 2.5 hours. I still have some stuff I have to do. I don't know how or when I'm gonna pack for Houston, but yeah, that needs to happen somehow. So I should probably do a little bit of that before bed tonight. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Any parting statements? Go catch Nick on eBay Live tomorrow. I'm sure he's probably gonna be live for 6 or 8 or 10 hours.
Uh, no. Thanks everyone. Thanks everyone for watching. Ponga. Dan's looking forward to talking with you on the next episode. I'll look forward to listening to you guys talk. Hope everyone going to Houston has a great time and absolutely kills it down there. Don't be letting me down. But yeah, that's about it. Gonna miss everyone who goes. Have fun down there though.
And one last thing I gotta grab just to bust Josh's chops. I wanted to go to Houston this weekend, but flights were $900. WTF in Houston is that oh is is in Houston that is deserving of that price? A lot of cash sales, I will say. You can put your $900 purchase on your credit card, and you can fly down to Houston and make a lot of cash sales. Do with that what you will. But I'm knowing that the trip is going to be very plus EV, as all these streams are. Live chat is always a blast. You guys make the streams what they are. We appreciate you all watching. We will catch you all later.